for honoring my invitation.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So excited to chat with you. I want to welcome you to the Modern Day Mom Chat. For those who don't know you, before I say how I found you on social media, who is Kelechi?
Well, Kelechi Okafor is yeah, so yeah. I just always say I'm a baby girl. Like I do so many things. I guess some people call it being a multi-hyphenate. I act, I direct, I write. I've got the podcast, and I have a pole dance studio. I teach pole dance as well as twerk, and I do a lot of, in cohesion with the podcast. I do a lot of social commentary. So I've done that for years. Talking about my experiences in the fitness industry. Starting out as a personal trainer to the point where I'm at now, where I've got like this following, but I'm still very much talking about the same thing. To me, the essence is centering Black womanhood and celebrating it.
Okay, so speaking of celebrating Black women and also even motherhood, I came across your page a couple of months ago when someone, I think, retweeted, and you were speaking about moms being hard on other moms who actually take time for themselves. Because that already, I was like, oh my gosh, like someone who understands what I'm always trying to tell. So I really want to kick off our conversation with a bit of motherhood. And I want to know, your son just turned 1.
Yes.
How has the past year of motherhood been?
It's been great. It's been it's been great. It's been challenging. It's one of those things. I just think that it opened my eyes to so much. That's really it. It's been like this massive epiphany of kind of like showing me to myself, and also letting me see the ways in which I don't feel like mothers are supported enough on this very, very transformative journey, and what can be done for there to be more support.
Right.
So it's been great. I've grown a lot. I've matured a lot, and I'm really excited for what's to come. But I have noticed a lot of like just messed up things that I definitely think should be different for women and, well, for mothers going forward.
So what are a few things in this first year that you would like to see change come about when it comes to, especially for moms?
The care that mums are given, during pregnancy, everyone's got all the advice for you. Oh, yeah, I hope you're not eating this. Everyone's trying to touch your body. Like, it's like your body's not really yours. Yeah. Everyone's trying to touch it during childbirth. You're saying, this is what I need. No, you don't know. This is what you need. We're going to tell you. Then the moment that baby's out, then it's like, oh, girl, you're on your own. Yeah, that's your business. You sort that out. Oh, but what happens with this? Oh, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. There's so much that's cloaked around motherhood that's like this mystery, when really, no, it's just women, like mothers are left to figure it out on their own. And there's so much shame around that, all of the missteps that they might take, and all of the trauma, all of the pain that goes on there. Nobody wants to tell anybody because they don't want to appear to not be a strong mother. They don't want to appear to not be a good mother. And it's just another way that, like, I think that, mothers are kind of oppressed and like kept there, and we have to be loud about all of the, pain as well as the joy.
I agree. I completely agree. You definitely hit the nail on the head. Now, what has been your most memorable moment with your son so far? Because for me, every moment I'm like, oh my gosh, he's 3 now. And I'm always like, oh my gosh, you're amazing. You're an amazing boy. So what is one moment that you are like, oh my gosh, like, this is my son. Like, I carried him and I've given birth to this like little human being.
Yeah, no, to me, it's just like watching him walk around in the playground, like when they're first born, they're just sort of there, just looking at you, and they're just sort of there, not doing much. And then now he's out and about in a park and the playground, and I see him like walking about and stuff with such confidence and just an awe of, there's so much for him to still discover.
Right.
And I just think that that's beautiful, just to watch him discover things, just to watch him really see things for the first time. It makes me think about us as adults and how we don't really see anything anymore because we've already programmed in our mind what that thing is, but they really see it because they don't know what it is. And there is, I guess, for us to approach life with that sort of wonder as well would really help us.
Now, I watched an interview where you spoke about just generally being kind to ourselves. Be kind to yourself. What is the importance of a woman being kind to herself as a mom?
I think it's incredibly important because motherhood is not an easy task. I'm saying that from only like experiencing it for 1 year, but it's not an easy task. And there are so many points where you can think that, oh, I should have maybe done that differently, or maybe I should do this instead, like second guessing yourself, when actually you're instinctively doing what you should be doing and you're doing the best that you can. And it's about showing ourselves that compassion that, you know what, I'm brilliant, I'm great, I'm doing this so well, and every day I wake up, this person is my number one priority and I'm giving to them, but also I've got to give to myself. So that number one priority thing, we have to be our number one priority. And a lot of people don't like to hear that because, again, it's that narrative of like, everybody first before you, got to put children first, but you can't put children first if you haven't really put yourself first.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I say that if you don't take care of yourself first, how are you going to take care of everyone else? It's not possible. You have to be 100% in order to give 100% to someone else, especially a little human being.
Yeah, right. Definitely.
Now, you are a twerking mama, and I say a twerking, as you said, you own a dance studio, and this studio allows women to just be. And I'm actually really jealous because I want to be able to join. I haven't been, there's none out here in Ghana. I think there's one that just opened, but it's something that I'm so interested in doing, like just dancing. And, you know, I feel like it also allows you to build a certain type of confidence.
Yes.
So how did your dancing journey begin?
I've always danced for as young, you know, because I was born in Nigeria and I came to England when I was around 5 years old. So I've for as long as I can remember, I've always danced.
Okay.
And then I never considered myself a dancer though, because to me, dancing was natural. I do that. So I didn't really think about it. It's only when I'd been, you know, personal training for a while, I'd been weightlifting for a while, that I thought, oh, I might go to a pole dance class and see how my strength fares there. And I went and I just took to it so quickly. I started teaching not so long after that, teaching the beginners pole dance. And they said, oh, would you teach a twerk class? And this was a wide-tone studio. So I saw what they were teaching in terms of twerk, and I was like, oh, girl, no. One thing we're not going to do is that. So then I was just encouraged within myself to bring forth what we know as dancing, what we know as like the sacral kind of energetic dancing, what we know to be, you know, this dance form that kind of, you know, was cultivated in New Orleans, putting all of that together with my West African heritage and bringing something else forward. And it proved extremely popular. And that's kind of what got me here. And we're talking, you know, that was around 2015, that was. Okay. Yeah, 2014. So it's been a very, you know, interesting journey to get to this point. But I'd always danced. I just thought everybody else did. But I realized, no, I have got to show them how to do this. Even in performing arts school, when I was around 16, again, I didn't really consider myself a dancer because the dancing that was really forced upon us in performing arts school was like ballet, jazz, tap, and I did them, but I didn't really connect with them. I just know that when the music comes on, I just dance.
Right. Now, what do you want women to gain when they leave a session after being in your dance studio?
To just remember that they are divine And it sounds like, oh, you know, a lot of people say this, but I think that, you know, you have to have a real, very visceral understanding of your divinity. You have to know that you are a mini god, like you were given also the power to create. And I think society makes us forget that across the world, especially in places where they've been previously colonized. You know, when we look at the continent of Africa, and things like that, women are out here daily doing extraordinary things, but still feeling less than ordinary, or like just still not feeling as great as they truly are. And everybody else is taking credit, especially when it comes to Black women. Everybody else is taking credit. So I want women to leave knowing that, you know, they are divine, that they are powerful, and that they are tender. They're all of the things that they want to be. Yeah. Like they are all of those things, and they're whole. Nothing else is going to make you whole. And I used to say that even when I was a personal trainer, because people would come and, I want to look like this and I need to look like this. And I was like, first of all, the pictures that you're showing, most of them have had surgery. So that's one thing. So you're not going to be getting their results because you're not having surgery. And, you know, that's for, you know, whoever wants that. But I would always interrogate them as to why they want to look like this. Why do you want to lose body fat? Why do you want to do this? And usually it never really came back to them. It was to appear to be a particular way for somebody else.
Yes.
So it's, again, taking that power back and doing things for us, like genuinely for us, not pretending that it's for us, when really it's to show off to somebody else that say, look, I do matter. You can love me. I am deserving of love now, because look at how I look now. Look at what I can do now. And it shouldn't be that.
Now, you touched on being a fitness trainer. I admire how dedicated you are. I started back doing a little bit of fitness training this week. I've never been someone who enjoyed being in the gym. So I just started about 2 years ago. I got into like training, then I fell off track, and then I'm seeing like, okay, I need to like get my body back to how it was. I felt better. I looked better. How important is it for us to be physically fit? And how does being physically fit help us emotionally also?
It's extremely important for us in whatever capacity for us to have physical activity in our life, especially as mothers. First, it's the social aspect of it. If you can, if you know, right now we know with the pandemic, people aren't being as, you know, we're not being social the way that we were before. But sometimes just being out of the environment of where you are known as mother helps a lot to have that social aspect, but also to keep the body moving. The body goes through so much during pregnancy and thereafter. Breastfeeding is, you know, a whole other, you know, thing altogether. Your hormones are jumping up and down. So much has changed within the body, and it's about getting the body used to everything that's happened and using it in the optimal fashion with all of the changes that have taken place. Right. So we'll feel more confident, like we're taking our life back, because sometimes I think motherhood, some days you just feel like you have no control of anything that's happening. Everything's sort of happening around you or to you. So taking ownership of like your physical kind of regimen really does help to kind of give you that sense of like ownership, give you that sense of control, and just have mental space. Like I love going for my runs because it's my time out of the home, where I'm not mother, I'm just Kelechi, and I'm just out there doing what I enjoy. And then I give myself markers like, okay, today I'm going to run 6 miles. Today I'm going to run 10 miles. And in those moments, I am like just free, and I just go. And I come back feeling refreshed. I've got this hit of endorphins as well in my system. So I'm brighter. I sleep better, because we know what's happened with our sleep as well during all of this. So whatever amount of sleep we can get, at least we're using it, rather than just staying up and being like zombie-like the entire night. So it has a number of benefits.
And so those moments where you're like, I'm just too tired, like I can't get up today. What keeps you going? Because I have those days a lot where I'm like, I don't want to work out. I don't even want to jump rope. I just want to wake up, eat breakfast, and start my day.
And I think that's okay too. You know, like sometimes people expect us to be like these go-getter warrior mothers. And what my actual biggest challenge is resting when I need to rest, because in my mind I've got this so many things to get done, and it's like, oh well, I have to do this and I need to do this, and there's this list of things, but honestly I can't come and kill myself, because if you burn out, not only will you not be able to do that day, but you won't be able to do quite a few days after that as well.
Right.
So being able to just listen to the body when it's like, I don't want to do that today, and it being perfectly okay, not beating ourselves up for the fact that, oh, I didn't do that, because everything's about balance. If now that's happening more frequently, then we'll have to check in, like, how are we feeling emotionally, how are we feeling mentally, do we have the support network to help, are we feeling low, do we want to talk to someone because we just don't want to do, you know, these things, or we don't want to do much. But if it's just a case of, I don't want to do that today, I deserve rest, I just want to do everything else, I think that's perfectly fine. I need to do that more, whereas I'm kind of like, get outside now to myself, and that's not always beneficial. That is not always beneficial.
Now, I love that advice. I know a lot of women will pick that up, because a lot of women, I think they're too hard on themselves sometimes.
Yes.
You know, so we need to just find, I know it's hard to find the balance, but at least, you know, just breathe sometimes. It's okay to breathe.
Yeah, breathing sometimes, and like, I think as well, like, being honest and transparent. I think that's what my social media has always been about. I don't want to present this perfectly like manicured, perfectly curated page for people to, because what people do is then they look at that and they compare their own life. And I instantly try to stop, you know, mothers, women generally, but mothers especially, when they're like, oh, you're doing this, and that was the whole point of my video. They were looking at it, instantly trying to compare it to their life, and it's like, no, we're doing different things, and nobody is better than anybody else. We're all doing the best that we can. So like, face your front, stay in your lane. And I think you'll see, you know, we'll see videos online of a mother like doing press ups with her baby on her back, or you might see me on the pole with my son, or whatever. You think, oh, bloody hell, I'm not doing that. What does that mean about me? It means absolutely nothing. I could do that, get off the pole and sleep for 7 days. You don't know, you know. I could have 50 emails that I have not answered.
Right.
Pardon me. I could have 50 emails that I have not answered because I wanted to do that thing. We don't know what's going on in people's lives. And yeah, and so I always try to be like transparent about that. Like, I've done this, but it meant that I didn't do this. Or maybe one day I did do everything, and some days I don't do anything. It is what it is.
Now, you touched on your social media. Now, you've used your social media as I guess your choice. You voice your freedom there. You say it as it is. Mm-hmm. It's from you, no filter. What has the response been from people who follow you and people who don't even follow your page, but somehow have found a way to your page?
It's always mixed, I think, but overall, over the years, it's become even more positive, because I think more women have been encouraged, and through my page, to really see themselves as who they are and own their truths and to use their voice. When you first see someone doing something, of course, you're going to have criticisms like, she's so loud, she seems angry all the time, why is she so aggressive? But really, those comments were never about me. They're about the fears that they have of appearing in the world in the same way. And then now we're seeing that more, especially with the pandemic and, you know, the Black Lives Matter movement and everything, we're seeing more people speaking out, more people using their voice, because they realize that everything that they thought the world was before actually wasn't what they thought it was. So now people are opening their eyes, and then suddenly people are seeing me and going, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I'm understanding what was going on the whole time over here. Obviously, I'm looking at them with a side eye, like, yeah, that's not what you were saying 2 years ago. But I welcome it, because, you know, change is change, you know, whenever it happens, as long as it happens, that's all we care about. But there'll still be trolls. There'll still be people who are so stuck in a space of pain within themselves that they can never see me. People can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. We can only celebrate each other like, oh, Vanessa and Kelechi, because we've gotten to a certain level of understanding, a certain path or space in our, you know, on our journey where we can see each other. some people aren't there. So, you know, I can't hate them for that, but I can definitely block them until they find their way.
That's it. That's why the block button is whoop,
yeah, block.
Right there. Now, you refer to yourself as a womanist, not a feminist. What's the difference, and why have you chosen womanist?
Well, Alice Walker talks about it, and Alice Walker talks about, womanism is to feminism as violet is to purple. It's just another shade, it's just, I guess, another term. It's another experience of this experience, and so womanism is specifically Black women, it's specifically Black women, because Kimberly Crenshaw talked about, the intersections of feminism, and people now calling themselves intersectional feminists, because what Kimberly Crenshaw was talking to us about is the cross section of society. I can't do feminism in the way that you lot are doing feminism, because I've got all of these other barriers and obstacles that were in my way, socioeconomically, sociopolitically, before I can be liberated. You can burn your bra. I only just bought a bra yesterday. Do I really want to burn it? So there are so many things. There's so much nuance to be found in what we consider to be liberation movements. And also in terms of Africa specifically, I speak about West Africa and not speak for everybody else, and all of the other ethnicities across the continent. But when I look at West Africa specifically, a lot of our mothers, grandmothers, great-grandmothers, everyone was doing feminism before they ever called it feminism, which is usually the case. Something that we've been doing for centuries is noticed by Europe, and then they've got to, boom, put a stamp on it and call it something, label it. They're obsessed with labels, but the reason they're obsessed with labels is because if something's got a label, you can sell it. And that's, that was never our focus. Like, we had mothers, grandmothers who were running businesses in their shops, as well as doing this, as well as doing that. Like, they were the ones who were at the head of the farming, the fishing, like they were doing things. And then I think that, and they're still doing things, but when we look at centuries before that, they were doing even more. Like, they had armies, they had all women armies. We had queens that ran entire kingdoms, that managed. When we look at Queen Nzinga, who managed to fight for as long as she could against colonialists who were trying to come in and steal humans and steal people. She fought against that. So colonialism interrupted our understanding of womanhood. Right. It really interrupted it. It jarred it. Yet those things are still inherent in us and how we move through the world and operate through the world. And that's why I chose the term womanism when I saw Alice Walker describe it, because I just thought, yeah, there's something about it that harkens back to what we know, right, viscerally as Black women, that that warms me, as opposed to feminism, which I just, when I think about mainstream white women focused feminism, it's not for me. It was never for us.
Now, speaking of Black women supporting each other, I know when you first started your dance studio, it was patronized more by white women. Do you feel like we support each other enough? And what? No. I knew you were going to say that. We don't, and you can go into detail about that, but also, what do you think we need to do in order to uplift each other and genuinely be there for each other? That is a massive question. The sisterhood doesn't exist in the way that I wish it would, because white patriarchy, white supremacist patriarchy exists. So as much as so many Black women across various industries love to pay lip service to, oh, but we're sisters, sisterhood, all of this, the fact of the matter is, at the core of everything, there is still the belief that there is only room for one of us to be where we are. Yep. So almost on autopilot, you're happy to support people if they're not crossing over into your industry. But I've had it firsthand where people love it when I'm just over here doing my twerking, doing my pole dance. Then they were like, oh, but Kelechi writes too, and she writes really well. Suddenly the girls were vexed.
Suddenly the girls are stressed.
Yeah.
Like, oh, and you know, we don't want you coming into this arena because, you know, this is ours. This is our thing. You know, acting, oh, she's wonderful, you know, doing her little theater shows, but the moment you might feel like, oh, she's gonna land a feature, no. Actually, I don't think she's that good. Actually, I don't think she's really good at characterization. So
yeah,
it's that fear that, and it's a real fear. I understand it, because through the white lens, they must see us as like, oh, well, yeah, we're interchangeable, but we can't buy into that lie that we are interchangeable. We all come with unique and special gifts. And even if we are similar, so what? There are like news anchors where 70 of you are blonde and 5'5" and you've got blue eyes, yet there is space for all of you.
Yes.
You know, so why can't there be, we know why, but why can't there be space for all of us, no matter how similar or how different we are? But because of that fear, I think that a lot of Black women play at sisterhood, but it gets exposed very, very quickly the moment that their position feels threatened. And the position, the threat is only ever an illusion, because God is abundant. God is a God of abundance. There's so much, we wouldn't even be able to use all of it in this lifetime. But when you're operating within this system of white supremacist patriarchy that tells you that everything is scarce and everything is from a place of lack to justify war, to justify everything, we buy into that as well. And we think, oh, there's only a little bit, so I have to get it and keep it for myself. We see it with our government telling us that there isn't enough, but they've got so much. So it's breaking the bondage that we have with the illusion of scarcity, understanding that even like within ourselves we are infinitely abundant and divine, and therefore that same thing exists in other people. And ultimately, if an opportunity does go to somebody else, it was never your opportunity. Even if you brought that person in and you felt like, oh, well, I would have been the one to get that, it wasn't yours. You know, nothing that's yours will ever pass you by. So that's why I don't mind putting other people on. I don't mind, you know, retweeting and doing this and doing that, because you can never take what's mine. So I have to make sure I help you get to what's yours.
Exactly. I completely agree. But you know what's crazy? I got that more so, like the women against me, is when I moved to Ghana. And I was like, wow. Yeah, like, you know, I worked in media, and it was like, oh no, why are you giving Vanessa Jan this gig? Why can't we do this? Why? But we can do it, to the point that even my show got like, it was crazy. I always talk about this because I'm very frank with it, but like sabotaging my TV show, and it was, so I had to take a step back, because I was like, I'm not used to this space of like drama between these women, and we all can make it to the top. It doesn't have to be one woman or two. We can all, because we're all different, you know, we all have a different skill, and we can even learn from each other. So that I completely understand. And speaking of support, I want to roll into the support from friends. Now, I personally notice, I love my friends. Yes, I do. Thankfully, my closest friends always support. But you know, there's those friends that are like from afar that, you know, they claim friends, but then when it's time to support, it's like they're nowhere to be found. Over the past couple of years, I've just realized it is what it is. You're not going to support. I'm okay with that. Usually strangers are the ones that really pour into everything.
All the time.
What advice would you give to someone who feels like, oh my God, my friends are not supporting me. Maybe I'm just not good enough. Maybe what I'm doing is not good enough. And they just literally fall into, let's say, a depression, because they feel like, well, my closest people are not supporting me. How can I expect others to support me?
Yeah, that's a very, very like amazing question, because it's something that I feel like I still experience now. I'm blessed that my best friend, like my absolute best friend in the world, Lammy, they support me so like aggressively that it's hilarious to watch. You know, they'll retweet things on Instagram, they'll repost things, and they've listened to every single episode of my podcast. You'd think that somebody who's known me since, you know, I was 16 would be like, I know everything that she's got to say, I don't need to be listening to no 2-hour episode. But no, every episode I get a text, just listen to this week, I love this bit, love that bit. That is the most precious thing to me. Nobody else does that. None of my other friends do that. But the fact that my best friend does that, that has my absolute heart. Even my baby brother, who I also call my best friend, he doesn't have time. He doesn't give a damn. But you know, he comes on the podcast as a guest. But pardon me. So yeah, when I look at other friends, it used to really bother me, because I'm just like, why aren't you reposting? Why aren't you giving to the crowdfund? You know what I've experienced. You know what I've gone through. Why aren't you supporting in this way?
Yes.
Then I had to remind myself that sometimes those who are closest to the light are blinded by it. So you can't see the glory. You can't see the greatness in it, maybe because you're too close to it. So you just can't. You're accustomed to it. You know, sometimes they're accustomed to your greatness. So to them, it's just casual. They don't really feel. And also sometimes other people have their own hang-ups in their own world. Sometimes the things that people do have absolutely nothing to do with us. And in their world, they're just trying to make it through too. And they've got all of their things that they're focusing on. I put that to the side. My prayer always is that the people who align and resonate with me, and that can bring me closer to my higher self, the fullest expression of myself in this life, let those people find me. Let us celebrate each other. All these ones that I call friends now, let them do what they're doing, but I'm not relying on them, because like you said, it's strangers that supported me the most. When I did my first crowdfund for the studio, second crowdfund for the studio, people from all over the world I'd never heard of were the ones who donated to support. My friends, some of them did, but that showed me, at first I was annoyed by it, because I was like, what do you mean strangers are supporting me more? But you know what? Whoever God is sending, I'm taking. Thanks so much.
I agree, because I raise funds for maternal health awareness in Ghana. And first of all, you would think maybe the Ghanaian community, you know, I'm doing it for us, would support. And no, it's people I've never met who support, you know, besides like my best friends, like you said, who I've known since I was 9, they support every single thing. And I can sell a toenail and they'll be like, oh, we'll buy it. You know? But it's always so surprising that it's strangers who really see the bigger picture, the bigger vision, or the light, like you said.
Yeah. Other people just get over familiar, I think, and that familiarity with you sometimes means that they just kind of don't see us as we appear to the rest of the world.
Right.
And that's fine. And so I've stopped looking at to them. I don't think my friends have booked a class at my studio.
Wow.
You know, but don't need it, because the classes stay booked. Their classes stay booked, you know. So yeah, you just kind of put their stuff to the side, because sometimes they're not even your audience. And do I want them to just support out of obligation? If they're not the audience, if they're not my target market, all right, fine, stay where you are then.
I agree. Now, you exude so much strength, so much power. I know I watched your TED Talk where you spoke of, you know, being stripped of that power at a younger age. How have you been able to rebuild yourself and become who you are today, right now, as we speak?
I always say that I wouldn't be anywhere without therapy. I think that therapy was a major part of my growth, and like me meeting myself, you know, me seeing the wonders and continuing to discover the wonders that are within me. Therapy played a major role in that when I started going in around, I'd say 2000 and maybe 12, 2011, those times. And I learned vocabulary for things that I didn't know that there were words for. I started to be able to make sense of the world and make sense of the things that were happening. And I'm the kind of person that once I discover something, I want to share it with other people, because I could, you know, the kind of energy that I guess I have, I feel other people's feelings like a lot. Like, so noticing in the world that there were people who are behaving the way that I was behaving, I thought, oh, maybe this might help you too. You know, I learned this thing. Never like just, you know, assaulting them with it and trying to force feed it to them, but just appearing and showing them my experience and letting them take whatever they want to take from that. But it's been a long, arduous process, and nothing is linear. You know, some years you feel like you're making massive progress, and in other years you feel like you're almost going back on yourself, because there is so much more that you kind of like excavate from the depths of you, that it feels like messy to kind of work through. I feel that even pregnancy made me see the, you know, because you're always catching yourself in your own lies. We have had to, you know, choose lies throughout growing up in order to get through in this society, because the society is built on lies. And then you discover another lie that you've been telling yourself, and you're like, oh, I don't want that one anymore, thanks so much, I know that you serve the purpose to get me to this point, but I don't want this lie anymore, I'm done with it now. And pregnancy showed me that, because you can be a personal trainer, this fitness person, like, oh, you know, I love my body, I love your body. Suddenly your body's changing and you can't control it. It's not looking how you are used to it looking. What does that do to your sense of self? What does that do to how you value yourself? That's what I had to sit in therapy and get honest about, you know, because we can't keep paying lip service to just love yourself, just love your body. And pregnancy is so beautiful, where for some people it's not a comfortable process, especially if you're someone who's gone through sexual childhood trauma. It's not a comfortable process to feel like you don't have control of that. So that's why I say I'm grateful for therapy, I'm grateful for prayer, I'm grateful to God, because things have been put along my path. Like, God put things along my path to help me get closer to who I truly am, and appear, you know, start to appear as you know, my best self. Right. And yeah, I'm just grateful for that.
Kelechi, what are your last words for our moms that are watching today? What do you want to tell them? What do you want them to know?
I would say one of my favorite Naira Waheed poems is I am mine before I am ever anyone else's. That is what I want all mothers to remember. You are yours before you are ever anybody else's. Like, before all of the other labels that people want to give you, whatever they might be, you belong to you first. And when you honor that you belong to you first, I think everything else slowly starts to fall in place. And that which is not for you is clearer to you.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.